All right, everyone, the predictable grift continues. Yes, more documents were found at Biden's home. Why am I not goddamn surprised? This time the DOJ itself was invited in, very kindly by his lawyers, to search the premises. They found 6 more classified documents. This particular haul, though, is very, very interesting. Some of those classified personal notes come from Biden's time as a senator. There is no legal argument that he can possibly make at this point that these documents were allowed to be in his possession. He didn't just forget that they were there. They're personal materials that he took on his own. He clearly took them while he was a senator, no less, so this is ancient history at this point. He hasn't been in that role since long, long ago. You'll remember 2008 when he becomes VP. Apparently, he was taking his homework home before that. That's not allowed. This is number one, and this also applies potentially to some of the documents from when he was VP, which they found a couple of in this new haul as well. Obama did loosen up the rules with regards to classified documents for the VP. But that didn't happen on day one of his presidency, so that's problem number one. It doesn't apply to members of Congress, that's number 2. Number 3, links in the description, first to the DOJ story. You can peruse this at your leisure. Again, there is a huge double standard in how the DOJ is treating President Biden versus President Trump. Well, Stuart Biden, but, it's a colloquial term. There's a huge and glaring at this point difference. Mar-a-Lago gets raided at like 6 o'clock in the morning. News cameras everywhere. Everyone's going crazy. Oh my God, treason, my nuclear secrets. Some of these documents cannot be construed as being legally possessed by Joe Biden. It's outright illegal. You can say more recently taken documents, well, he was VP at the time. Obama loosened the rules. Again, I would like to point out that if he took them home in the first few years of his vice presidency, it's not clear that they would be retroactively protected in that manner. Senate documents? Absolutely not. Second news story, Adamschiff becomes one of the foremost Democrats throwing Biden under the bus. Did I or did I not tell you that this is exactly what would happen? Adamschiff, importantly, is a neoliberal. He's part of that core of the party. It's not like when Ilhan Omar last week said, well, I think that we need a full investigation. Something fishy may have happened. In the last 48 hours, you've had Adam Schiff dogpile him. Again, a fellow neoliberal. He's very amenable to Joe Biden's policies. He's not coming from the Progressive Caucus. He's one of those core liberals. He also wants a position now potentially in the Senate. So this might be partially self-serving on that front. What's happened is that the Democrats as a party, generally speaking, circle wagons. You've seen that for the last couple of years, up until the last few weeks. Anytime Joe Biden did something shitty, nixing Keystone XL, which was vastly unpopular, constantly sending more aid to Ukraine, that's like being sponsored by the Crenshaw neocons at this point more than even some of the liberals. Fucking the economy, hyperinflation, limited pre-shock recession, which you had last year, of course. Now they're predicting sometime in the middle of this year you'll have another one. This one will be deeper, which means they're calling it a shallow recession. But it is coming. It'll be worse than they expect, by the way. You've got all sorts of problems right now. You've got the withdrawal from Afghanistan. You have the reheating of the conflict in Korea. Foreign policy is really what he's blundering through the most. Over and over and over again, gas prices, etc. He still, for some reason, he still is going with the line of, oh, it brought the gas prices down. Well, no, you didn't. You brought them up. They're coming down organically now. They're still quite a bit higher than when you took the stewardship over. In every other case, the legacy media, the Democrats at large, etc., have almost universally backed Biden. They either don't talk about the negative news or they cover his ass. What was clear when this happened, with the first wave of news about these classified documents, was that it would be shenanigans. The Democrats are now looking for a reason. The midterms are over. They can't do it before then because they don't want any problems. Right now, they are seeking to quickly either remove him from office or get him to step down for 24 to allow an open primary field. That is what they are doing. Schiff doesn't want him. He doesn't think he can win. Probably doesn't even think he might be alive by the end of his term. He'd be 83 years old. He's clearly not competent to run a national campaign. He's an old Alzheimer's-ridden fool. The Elon Omar progressives smell blood in the water, and like the sharks they are, they're circling around, trying to nibble at the carcass as well, trying to ingratiate themselves, number one, for their far-left constituency that thinks Biden hasn't delivered enough leftism, while number two, also trying to set up so that they can have a candidate of their choosing. You'll remember that a lot of those people in the so-called progressive caucus within the Dem Party are controlled by a handful of interests that aren't even completely in the control of the DNC. It's a semi-separate group that has been used traditionally by the liberals as a pawn, but has now outgrown that role. The pawn has evolved into a force of itself, and now it wants more of a seat at the table. I warned the Democrats about that for years too. What you see right now is them trying to get a scandal going now that the midterms are over, which was covered up until after the midterms deliberately, by the way. You may have noticed that these documents were known before the voting happened for some weeks, and nobody said anything about it. The staff didn't say anything. The intel agencies helpfully decided not to say anything to the public, despite the fact that they ought to have done so because, I mean, they're supposedly not working directly for Biden, at least in the partisan sense. Who else would get this deference? Let me ask you this. Any other executive. They've taken their homework home. They may have done it illegally. It certainly wasn't secured properly. You have, at the very least, compromised national security, regardless of what those documents are. You may not be legally entitled to have declassified them. It depends on when, as VP, he took them home. For those documents and for the Senate documents, it's not even possible for him to have done so. Those documents remain classified. He could not declassify them as a senator. It is illegal for him to have had them at his home. The DOJ came in, and the lawyers told them, we found classified material at Biden's home. They sat on this story until after the midterms, ass covering number one. Now, apparently, they didn't get the memo from Shifty Shift or from Elon Omar, I suppose, or any of the other people that are sharking around Biden's political cadaver at the moment, which really, at this point, I hate to tell you, that is what it is. That's because they're happy about this. They can toss out Biden or force him not to seek re-election or cause a primary that possibly usurps a sitting incumbent candidate while using that as a frame to try to attack Donald Trump. I think it's more about the latter than about the former. If they thought that Biden could be steward for another 4 years and not completely flip his gourd, they would let him. But they don't have that confidence. See, don't look at their words. When they don't talk about Biden's latest gaffe where he forgets where he is, who somebody else is, like that one member of Congress who he said stand up in the crowd, but it was literally at a remembrance for the fact that that person had died. That was only a few months before the midterms. The legacy media never wanted to talk about that one now, did they? But their words and their actions are totally different. Their words are Biden's fine, he's healthy as a horse, he's strong, we support everything that he's doing. Their actions are, hey, let's get rid of him. This is how you know that there are shenanigans going on right now, and this is a double whammy. The classified documents scandal has exploded in Joe Biden's face. And again, it looks mighty suspicious that it's a slow leak of documents, by the way. 3 different batches now, with sporadic updates, just right in time for every meaty news cycle. How coincidental is this? Oh my God, it's almost as though they've been planning this for some time. It's possible these documents were known of years ago. They never had a problem with it and said, well, we've got an insurance policy. Do you think that not one of the visitors to his house noticed the classified headed documents in his garage or his bedroom or wherever the hell else they find these documents? If they keep searching, they'll probably find more. Hey, check the attic, assholes. Check the basement real good. Look for false panels in the walls because they may very well be there. Hunter Biden had access to these documents. He was the one listed as renting the property for like $50,000 fucking dollars a month, which, by the way, is definitely a cash grab by the old man. The big guy got more than his 10% worth out of that one. $50,000. You know, his house there in Rehoboth Beach is fairly fancy and in a nice location. I'm not sure that 50 grand a month, Jesus Christ, I think you can rent a McMansion in the middle of Martha's Vineyard for that cost. Very, very interesting. Anyway, the scandal keeps getting worse. It is a scandal, by the way, and I would like to point out, in closing here, it is apples to oranges to the Mar-a-Lago case. Trump took documents while he was president, which gives him that authority, ironically, under Obama's rulemaking, just to be clear about the Presidential Records Act. They were properly secured. They were secured in coordination with the sitting government once Trump left. And then they raided him anyway, but they were secured. He was asked to put an additional lock on the door. The room was never accessed by any third parties that we know of. We have no evidence of that. Secret Service and private security were both present there. The documents were fundamentally secure. These documents were not, and at least a few of them cannot be construed as legal. The documents that Biden took from his time as a senator that were classified cannot in any way, under any legal auspice, be declared legal. That's why this is shenanigans. I have a feeling that these people knew the documents were there, but they never cared. They're like, yeah, well, a couple classified documents, we don't know what they're about, but we don't care. In fact, this might come in useful. Let him keep them. Don't search his home. If his attorneys find something, we'll punt it until after the midterms to keep the uniparty in power, and then we'll come crashing down around him. Joe Biden is now finding out how fickle political friends really can be. Very intriguing. That's about all. Peace out.